What's up, party people of the SFL? What's going on this Thursday night? Welcome to the party that is episode 35 of Axis Live. That's right, Axis Live, 35 episodes in. That doesn't even count the shows I did with Johnny Pickler or the draft shows. So you guys have been sticking with me for a while, and I appreciate all of you. So thank you for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. We've got another big ass show for you tonight. We've got 8, yes, count them, 8 panelists tonight to break down not only the games for this weekend, but the playoff teams for the quarterfinals. Oh, hey, Kendra, how are you? I see everybody in the chat, too. I'll get to you guys in just a second. We also have Jack's Data here to reveal their spreads and over-unders live again right here tonight, just like they did last week, and an SFL minor league preview for tomorrow night's Week 2 games, Friday Night Lights in the SFL minor league, baby. So we got all that. And if that's not enough for you, we also have Gunny's Pearls of Wisdom. We've got the Wild Card Weekend Diva of the Week winner. We've got Pick'ems. And then we still have Axis After Dark after that. Boom. That's a lot of show for everybody. I hope you guys are buckled in, ready to rock and roll, because I am. So let's check out the chat. Let's see who's in the house tonight. Chris Lee's here. Nate Hall. BJ Loveless. Good to see you, bro. The original Ty. What's up, Ty? How you doing, bro? Kendra Hall's here. Will Todd. Chucky B. Oh, dude, you know what, Chad? We got to talk about that. I'm not used to seeing this London GM thing yet. I don't realize that to you, I think, at the time. Lisa's in the house. Pink Lisa, my wonderful wife. Fierce Pierce. Cregan 610. Don't know who that is. Should I know that? I feel like I should know that. Who else here? Hey, JV, Jeremy, nice to see you back here. We've missed you for the last few shows. I've been talking trash about Denver. You haven't even been here to make fun of me or say anything. Hugo, good to see you. CB12 Fuel Quarterback in the house. AJ, sweetie, good to see you. Doug Britton. Tommy, Easy, my boy from the Marine Corps 30 years ago. Good to see you, bro. Art Vandalay, as always, good to see you. Frank the Franchise Wade, of course. J37. Man, we got a packed house again tonight. I'm loving these numbers, you guys. I love how many people we have here. Eddie Gage, of course. The Mighty Joe Young. Thomas Smith. Wow, let's see. Bum, 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 bum. Dude, I got that song. Does everybody else have that song stuck in their head? Tainted Love? That's like the jam. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's what we do here to start every show. We start jamming. That's what we do. That's how we roll. All right, I think that's pretty much everybody. Looks like Bo Martin Jr. just snuck in here. And Jason Franco is in the house as well. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Let's see who all these panelists are. Man, do we have enough of them yet or what? Let's see. So first and foremost, we have Hunter Norwood from Jack's Data joining us, who's going to give us his over-unders and spreads live as we go through the game. So Hunter, welcome back to the show. Good to see you, bro.
Thank you. Good to be back.
We have one of the show regulars, as always. Frank the Franchise Wade is in the house. Frank, what's going on?
How you doing, Dave?
Doing outstanding. Another regular for the show, Thomas Smith, who knocked that minor league data out of the park the other night. Thomas, what's going on with you?
Hey, how you doing tonight, Dave?
I'm doing really good. Rushing home in rush hour traffic, one of the sexiest voices in the SFL, Coach Craven is with us again. Coach, thank God you made it home in time.
Yes, and thank God everyone on the road survived with that drive.
Exactly. The new offensive coordinator for the Lone Star Glory, Greg Soda. Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Howdy, partner. How you doing?
Dude,
I love it here in Texas.
I was taking, oh my God, dude, I was taking a sip and I had to spit it back into my cup. Thanks for that, bro. Appreciate that. We've got also Mr. Arizona Everything back in the house, the Hall of Famer, Eddie Gage is here. Eddie, welcome back to the show.
Arizona, I love y'all. What up, though?
We know you do. Fresh back to the SFL, the new GM in London, who I'm still trying to get used to his name in chat. Chad Rowland's back. Chad, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well, hanging in there. And then last but certainly not least, the strong safety from the Memphis River Runners and SFL minor league broadcast team. He's been on the show a couple of times, and he's starting to turn out to be a staple on this show. Tyler, what's your last name again? I did not write it down because I am not on the ball tonight.
Hey, don't worry about it. It's Falk, so just use it however you would imagine it. But thanks for having me on. It's a fantastic evening, and we got a packed show.
Dude, you do not want to give me the green light on any word that starts with an F, but we'll save that for after dark maybe. Here we go. All right, so let me run through these games real quick we got coming up on the quarterfinals, or in the quarterfinals this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday at 2 o'clock, Mexico City at Baltimore. Mexico City is the 5 seed. They got a bye, but then they have to travel. Ethan Kai, I always miss you, bro. They have to travel to number 4, Baltimore. The 4 o'clock game on Saturday. And all of these games, just so you know, are on 11 Sports for the fans, their Twitch channel. So you can watch them on Twitch or you can watch them on 11 Sports. 4 o'clock on Saturday, Florida, who squeaked out a victory against Lone Star, has to travel to the number 1 seed in the playoffs, the Denver Nightwings. Then on Sunday, Jacksonville, who again squeaked by Houston in overtime, the 6th seed, has to travel to Sioux Falls, the 3 seed. And then the weekend, the night cap, it's not really nighttime, the afternoon cap, if you will. On Sunday, Vancouver at Louisiana. I'm sure that's probably, everybody thinks in their mind that's going to be the closest game. We'll see what Jack's data and who you got to have to say about that. But you've got the number 7 Vancouver Legion, another close victory last weekend going against Louisiana, who was running, with Denver for that number 1 spot most of the season and lost it near the end. I think it was actually the Florida game that knocked them out of that. So, and they are the number 2 seed. So, an amazing slate of games for this weekend. 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. Hopefully they're already booked in your calendar. So let's start talking about these bad boys. Let's get this show started. Starting with the Mexico City at Baltimore game, which is your very first game on Saturday, like I mentioned, at 2 o'clock Eastern. Mexico City has had a week of rest, just as Baltimore has had, Eddie. But as you look at these stats, I mean, they're all very similar stats. And again, let me remind everybody, these stats are regular season stats. So if any of these teams had a playoff game, I did not put them in here. Winkler did not put them in here. Same with the records. Everything is based off of regular season. But also, another reminder, the away team stats are for when they're away, and the home team stats when they're home. These are not total stats. So, for example, Mexico City, 402 yards on the road. Baltimore, 400 yards at home. That's how easy it goes. So as you go down this line, you can see how very close and competitive statistically this game is going to be. If you look at Mexico City now, as we get ready to go over to Eddie Gage, Eddie, Mexico City is the 5 seed. I think a lot of people thought they were going to be the 4 or the 6 seed, but they leapfrogged Jacksonville. What do you think about Mexico City and their chances going into Baltimore this weekend?
Mexico City, throughout their history, has not had a favorable record versus Baltimore. In fact, they've played each other in seasons 11, 12, and 13. They did not play each other season 14, and they played each other again in season 15 this season. And they are 0-4 versus Baltimore. 3 of those games were in Baltimore, and Baltimore has had their way for the most part, averaging about 34 points a game. So Mexico City is going to have to find a way to slow down this Baltimore offense. And I think they can do it, but it's going to be tough because anyone who's a historian of this league knows that Mexico City this season has changed their pace up a bit offensively, the way they get the ball downfield. They aren't the team they used to be, relying on Ray Bentley so much via the run and pass. This season, they're doing it with a combination of guys, including Mike Daggs, who leads the SFL in receiving yards. But they also have a 2 tight end set that they employ, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they use that because, like I said, they played them early this season, but during that game, they were held to 29 yards rushing. But if you go and look at the stats, you would notice that they only ran the ball 7 times. Phoenix Jones only had 1 carry. And if I know Ramos like I think I know him, he's gonna change that up and try to find a way to be a bit more balanced on offense.
You know, I was looking over the stats today with Winkler. We were looking at the different team stats, and the funny thing about it was after Mike Daggs, who had 86 receptions, 1,300 yards, and 11 touchdowns, everybody else who caught the ball is pretty evenly spread out. Yep. Matt Wilson threw more touchdowns and interceptions, unlike a lot of other quarterbacks in the league this season. A lot of them
plus 3.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking Phoenix has got it going recently, and I'm going to transition over to Chad here in a second. He's got it going recently, but with Phoenix kind of going and Matt Wilson being Matt Wilson and having Daggs, Chad, do you see the potential for an upset Mexico City coming into Baltimore?
I mean, there is always a potential for an upset in the playoffs. I mean, it doesn't matter who's playing who. All these teams are very deserving on that part. But going off of Baltimore and going off of the last game, I do remember it well. And Jack Wigmore was very, he had an 83.7% completion through 262 yards, only threw one pick. He did very well when it came to keeping the ball on Baltimore's side, not giving up the turnovers. T-Roy Gaines, 18 carries, 129 yards, 2 TDs. He was a beast as always in that game. But and like I said, with a team that lost somebody like Mike Dazzo to retirement, and we all know the history of Mike Dazzo, going over just how the quarterback has been, and they split the season. So Mike played 6 games, Jack played 6 games,
right?
And their QBRs were just right neck and neck with each other. But total for the season, 12 games played, 398 for 522, 3,491 yards, 24 TDs, 14 picks, 76% completion, and a 99.2 QBR, which that QBR was the top in the SFL. So if you take that position of how them two played, they were the top, QBR wise.
Wow.
But this defense has gotten a lot better now. A lot of these guys I know because I brought in some of these guys, leading off with Frank Smith. I mean, 88 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 13 pass deflections. Tucker Lewis, 13 sacks on a defensive line that 2 seasons ago didn't have anybody on the defensive line. So they have progressed very well. Giovanni Bolt, as always, he's a menace in the secondary, 9 interceptions. They're going to make it tough on Mexico City once again, but this is a different Mexico City team compared to when they faced them just a few weeks ago. So, watching the offense from Mexico City and utilizing Mike Daggs, that's what they got to do is they got to stop Mike Daggs, because you let Mike Daggs get loose, and this could be an interesting ball game for sure.
Yeah, and the quarterback situation has definitely been interesting. And it's funny that you're right. They both played 6 games, and they both had similar stats over their 6 games. Ivory Irvin, over 100 receptions and over 1,000 yards. Diva of the Week nominee a couple weeks ago. The secondary has actually stepped up more. Remember, you remember, Chad, of course, early issues with the secondary in Baltimore, but they've really kind of come around.
Yeah, obviously, the big off-season acquisition for Baltimore was Chris Dodd, which didn't pan out real well. But guys have stepped up. Marvin Himes, a great example. He was part of that big rookie class that came in alongside me and Tucker and other guys. And, he had 7 picks this season. So he's really stepped up his game and played very well. Mac Chima, another guy that he was my first ever draft pick when I was a GM at Baltimore. 75 catches for 823 yards, 7 TDs this season. He leads the team in touchdowns when it comes to wide receivers. But be careful for Lloyd Graham. Graham, 58 catches for 720 yards and 3 TDs. He could be a sneaky play in this game too.
Yeah. Real quick, before I I'm probably going to go to Frank. Is Frank good to go? Is he back, Eagle? I don't see. Oh, yeah, he is. Okay. I'm going to go to Frank in a second, but before I do, I just want to let everybody know in the chat. Eagle is producing tonight for Winkler, so if you want to be on Axis after dark, or you have questions, comments for me or the panelists, go ahead and add Eagle in the chat. Frank, what's your take on this game real quick? You don't need to give a prediction because we'll do that later in the pick'ems, but you think this is a pretty even game?
I've been saying all along that Baltimore, to me, in my opinion, is the best balanced offense in the one of the best balanced offense in the league. And it being at home, I think it's going to be difficult for Mexico City. It could be close. It could be close, but I could see it also slipping away from Mexico City.
Okay. Let me get Jack's data in here. Hunter. All right, Hunter. Mexico City, the 5 seed. At Baltimore, the 4 seed. I think a lot of people, other than maybe Frank, thinks this is going to be a really close game. How does Jack's data see it?
We have Baltimore at -3.5, and we have the over/under at 57.5.
57.5. So that's a little bit higher than the average that we talked about the other night. Then, so
Yes.
not surprised about the field goal. Was there any leeway in that at all? Do you think was there an opportunity to go under 3, or do you think 3.5 was what it looked like the whole time as you were looking at it?
There was an opportunity to go more than 3.5.
Ooh.
But like you said before, Mexico City, what was it, back in season 11 had Baltimore's number, so it's there's a little, it can be close.
Okay.
I will say though, we run 10,000 simulations using just math. Don't worry about it, but math. And we have Baltimore to 69% win percentage.
Wow. Okay. 69%. Okay. I'm going to ask you that on all of these, actually, if you have them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. All right. And then SFL Nation and the Who You Got, overwhelmingly, 172-40. We have taken Baltimore in this game. Moving on to the second game on Saturday, which is, I got too many graphics today. Boom. Florida at Denver. Florida, like I said, squeaking out the victory against Lone Star. Florida was the 8th seed, traveling to Denver, the number 1 seed in the SFL playoffs this season. Benji, does Florida have a chance in this game? What do you think?
Of course Florida has a chance in this game. Of course. Does everyone remember when they were 0-3 to start this season off?
I do, because we helped them with their win streak.
You guys remember saying, "Oh, don't sleep on Florida. They may be 0-3, but just wait."
Yep.
And sure enough, they went 0-3, rattled off 3 straight, dropped a tough one to Las Vegas, ran another 3 in a row, and then lost to Charleston before finishing out the year with that win over Louisiana. So a bit of a streaky team. But I think that you can't talk about the SFL playoffs without talking about the Florida Storm. 6-1 at home this year. The road record 2-4, so they have the tough task facing the top team in the SFL on the road this season. So that's going to be difficult. I think that if you look at the back half of their season, they were 5-1. They dropped a game on the road against Charleston there before winning that last game of the regular season against Louisiana. That was some say Louisiana might have packed it in that last week. You never really know, but that was still a quality win for Florida. Also a quality win earlier in that streak against Jacksonville. So they've beat some of the top teams in the league. They're capable of beating Denver. Of course, Denver is in the top 5 in almost every statistical category on offense. But when you look at the defensive side of the ball, Florida's got the number 2 ranked scoring defense in the league. So what better to counter one of the league's top offenses than with one of the league's top defenses? Of course, Denver might be the number 1 defensive points per game team in the SFL, but we're talking about Florida now. So I think that Florida does have a puncher's chance. Absolutely. You can't count them out. They've been a great team after they righted the ship week 4 and beyond. They have the defense to keep Denver quiet. They potentially have a defense that can keep Denver at bay a little bit. And we know if you're looking at some of those stats, defense, Denver doesn't allow much on the ground. But Florida, that's not going to bug Florida. Florida can't get anything on the ground. That's not going to interrupt their flow in this game. You want to see JW Dumpster Fire Doyle, get off to a great start in this game, but quarterback and captain Ron Cochran is going to be ready to carry the team on his back if need be. So I definitely would say they have a puncher's chance. They got a great captain leading that offense. You never know what can happen in the SFL playoffs. But I think if anyone can do it this week, Florida can.
Yeah, I think the red flag for me, to be honest with you, Benji, before I go over to Thomas, is that the 31 interceptions, only 23 touchdowns by Ron Cochran.
It's just a number, and it's the playoffs.
It's just
a number.
That's kind of the whole thing, right? Wait, let's see what Hunter has to say about that in a few minutes when I go to him, if math is just a number. Thomas, I'm going to switch over to the graphic real quick for Denver because I want to see their secondary. 9 interceptions for Vasquez, 8 interceptions for Papineau. And obviously you're going to talk about Denver, but as a lead-in, you think that Cochran throwing 31 interceptions and going into Denver with that secondary is going to be an issue for him?
I definitely think it's going to be an issue. I think I agree with what people have said before. Cochran is a better playoff QB than he is a regular season QB, but he's going against the best team in the league, and I think it's going to hurt him. And I'll tell you what, Dave, I have to vehemently disagree with my counterpart here. I do not think Florida has a chance, and I'll tell you why. About 30 seconds after we lost that game at the eye, hanging our heads down, I start walking off that field, and I just look over at the sideline, and I hear the Florida coach yelling, "No!" And I'm sitting there wondering why, and I see Commissioner Irvine just sitting there in his ear, letting him know that they got to play Denver next. And I tell you what, that's not something any team was wanting to draw this week, because Denver is not just the best team in the league, but they're the best at everything. They have the best scoring offense. They have the best scoring defense. They have the best kicker in the league.
They do have the number 1 kicker. I saw that today, yeah.
And you look down the line and you look at this team, it's like, what have they done anything wrong this year? And obviously you see that one loss. And I think Mighty and that whole coaching staff is going to be sitting there studying that one loss to try and figure out what Baltimore did to get past this team, because the rest of the year, and teams could not figure it out. Denver just on the ground with Jared McChesney. He was grinding it out. He was number 2 in the league in rushing touchdowns. He was 6th in rushing yards, so they've got the running game going. Then you look across and you see Josh Miller there with close to 4,000 passing yards. Excellent completion percentage, positive with the touchdown to interception ratio. Their whole offense is just really successful. They got Logan Keel over 1,000 yards, and the number 2 and number 3 receivers are still involved in the game pretty well. One thing I did notice that this Denver team was doing a little different than what other teams were succeeding with this year was tight end play. So their tight end did get pretty decent stats this year, but the resurgence of tight ends that you've been seeing with a lot of the other teams that were doing well this year, it wasn't something Denver really incorporated into that offense. So I think that's one thing that might factor into the game is Florida won't need to play the middle of the field as much, knowing they're not going to have to worry about the tight end too much. They might maybe put an extra blitzer in, maybe fill the box a little bit more. I don't think there's a formula where Florida's going to win this game, but I think there are some things they can look at and say, hey, maybe if we do this, maybe if we do that, we've got a chance against this team. It just, like I said, looking down the line, seeing how successful this team is with the scoring offense, the scoring defense, the fact that their point differential is 70 points better than second place, it just blows my mind how much Denver has really blown the rest of the league away this year. And obviously there was a moment there where everybody was like, how are they doing after they lost that Baltimore game?
Right.
I've
been asking Jeremy all season if they're for real.
Right. And looking at it now, looking at the numbers, again, like Jack's data says, numbers don't lie, and Denver's looking really good right now.
Well, before we get to Jack's data, and then I'm actually going to throw this, I'm going to get Eddie's input on this real quick. The stat that stands out to me, you see several receivers with over 1,000 yards receiving, but most of them have close to 100 receptions. Logan Keel only has 69 receptions on 1,000 yards. That's an average of almost 15 yards per reception, which is pretty amazing. Eddie, give me some insight on this game. What do you think about Denver, and do you think Florida has a chance?
First of all, Dave, let's get something straight. The disrespect that Florida is getting. Do people not realize those guys got 3 championship rings?
Right,
They
but
not
it's kind of that. What have you done for me lately thing though, right? They didn't make the playoffs last season. I
Yes,
think
but they had different coaching last season, and by the time he got back in there, it took him a while to get the playbook right. So let's not forget that. Second, they beat Denver in the playoffs. Let's not forget that too. So I'm not saying that believe they got he has a tough task ahead of him. Playing Denver in Denver is no joke. But Denver had some close games this season. Yes, they only lost once. But if anyone can pull it out, is Mighty. I mean, what he has to do is figure out how to slow down that play action passing game of Denver. First and foremost, that's what the first thing he got to figure out, because that play action passing game by Denver is the best in the SFL. Second, he got to slow down, McChesney. That's no easy task. Third, they don't throw the ball deep often, but when they do, it's a weapon. So they gotta, they're just tough all around. And Denver, their defense, I'm not, they rank number one. I get all of that, but Denver's defense isn't on the field often because their offense is so prolific and they convert third downs. I believe they're number one in the SFL and converting third downs and first downs, if I remember right. So it's not that their defense is deadly. It's just that they aren't on the field that often because their offense keeps the ball.
Right.
So if he and as far as their Denver's run defense, Mighty isn't worried about that. He can run the ball maybe 10 times the entire game, and that might be pushing it. So it's going to be a tough task. I'm not saying it's a cakewalk by any stretch, but if anyone can do it, it's going to be Mighty.
Well,
I've got some math for you.
Oh, Benji, go ahead, buddy.
Sorry, Dave. Some math for the Florida faithful out there. Overall series, Florida leads this 6-1 against Denver. Florida has won the last 4 in a row, including the last 2 on the road in Denver.
Wow.
And when Denver won their championship, they lost 1 game that year to Florida.
Talk to him.
All right. Well,
talk to him.
Before I go, I'm getting ready to go to Hunter here, but Art Vandelay and I think somebody else was asking if Eddie's actually going to pick Florida in this game, and I'm just saying you're going to have to wait and find out because we'll do pick'ems at the end of the show. But Hunter, Florida, Denver. Apparently, Florida has Denver's number, but do they have it this season? I don't know. That's kind of a tall task. So I'm guessing this. I'm almost thinking this spread of yours might even be double digits.
It's not double digits. Also, just so you know, the spreads, my opinions are different. Denver minus 7.5.
Okay.
Is the spread. The over-under is actually the lowest for the quarterfinals, which is 52.5.
Okay.
And we have on simulations Denver 75% chance.
75%. What do you think about that, Benji?
That's the highest.
Okay. Who you got? SFL Nation again crushing it. Almost very similar to the Mexico City Baltimore. Who you got? 173-42 for Denver. So to the games on Saturday, both home teams more than 4 times the number of votes in the Who You Got. That's going to be interesting. Moving on to Sunday. Jacksonville, who had a little warm-up game against Houston that put everybody on the edge of their seat and went into overtime, Greg. And Sioux Falls, who got to stay home and rest and watch that game and analyze Jacksonville. Jacksonville was in that top 4 or 5 all season, then they dropped to 6 near the end. Is Jacksonville back on the winning ways, you think, or is Sioux Falls too powerful?
Well, I got some info for you on that question a little bit after I'm done here, giving you some stats. But yeah, taking a line from the editorial team in the last power rankings, Jacksonville was able to hang tough and avoid succumbing to Houston last week. Thank goodness. Duval got it done. It was, everybody was biting their nails and trying to figure out what the hell was going to happen in that game. But I think Jacksonville going into Sioux Falls, what the hell? I'm going to give you this stat right now before I even go. Season 14, week 11, Jacksonville went into Sioux Falls and beat Sioux Falls 35-17. In that game, Christensen threw for 3 touchdowns for 334 yards, only 1 INT. If he can hold down his INTs in Sioux Falls, there is a possibility. In that game last year, in that last season, Jack Wall caught 4 passes, 2 touchdowns, and the Duval defense was able to intercept Tyree 4 times. Even though Sioux Falls doesn't throw the ball that much, they were able to intercept him 4 times. So, this Jacksonville offense, they're 5th in the league with 376 points total for the season. Their points per game are around 29 points. Passing, they're around 11th with 263. They're 12th in pass TDs with 21. The biggest thing for this offense is they're tied for first place for third down conversion at 61%. And I really think that if Jacksonville's going to go into Sioux Falls and beat them again like they did when they did last season in week 11, the third down is going to be crucial, not only in the offense, but Jacksonville's defense is also first place in third down defense at 58%. So, I mean, third down, I think it's what it's going to come down to for Jacksonville for them to have a chance to beating Sioux Falls. I mean, their defense is 21st in the league, though, which is really bad. They allow 31 touchdowns in the passing game, but Sioux Falls doesn't pass that much. So is that a big deal or not? Who knows? I really do think that the third down efficiency is going to be a big deal. And then with Norwood and Hale being 3rd and 4th place in total sacks in the league, and then 3rd and 5th in tackles for a loss, I think if Christensen can hold down at least having no more than 2 INTs, they can win the third down battle on both sides of the ball, and Norwood and Hale can get in the backfield. I think Jacksonville definitely has a chance at beating Sioux Falls this weekend.
Just like Cochran, what scares me about Christensen is all the interceptions. Like you said, 19 touchdowns but 24 interceptions, and I think he threw 4 last week against Houston. And I mean,
can't happen.
No, you can't throw 4 interceptions against Sioux Falls and plan to escape
Sioux Falls
with a win.
Yeah, Sioux Falls will just dominate. They'll try to dominate the time of possession, and that's interceptions are going to be a killer. But I really do think that if they dominate third downs, Jacksonville could possibly repeat from last season's Week 11.
Well, let's see what Coach has to say about the Sioux Falls side of things. I know that him and Gunny have been calling Sioux Falls to win it all since the preseason. Coach, you still thinking that?
Yeah, as long as they are able to do what they do. They are unapologetic about what they do, obviously. Big surprise is run the ball. And if teams can't, I'm going to sound like a broken record because I said this last time I was talking about it. If teams can actually force them to be multidimensional, then they have a chance, of course. But, I still think Sioux Falls has all the pieces they need to be the champion, and I'm going to ride that horse until it's dead. So, it's funny. I'm sitting there looking at these stats. When I was looking at these stats, and it's no big surprise. They run more than they throw. It kind of hidden in our little stat box that you have up there. Colin Hart's 1,500 yards. Yeah, but Jalen Wells has got quite a few yards too. He's a key piece to that.
Yeah, we did see that. I almost actually put him on the graphic. I didn't know if there was going to be enough room, but I did see that today as well.
Right. Well, I mean, I just said it, so the five.
You're on top of things, Coach.
So, that's right. The funny thing is, it's kind of funny. Of the 14 touchdowns Julian Tyree threw, Gunnar Lewis got 10 of them. I'm thinking his teammates are going to start getting upset about that if that continues. It's not that Sioux Falls can't throw the ball; they just don't want to. Like I said, they're unapologetic about what they do, and. The thing about Jacksonville is Jacksonville has the on offense to be balanced and compete with them. And but if they can make them throw, then Norwood and Hale get to do what they do really well. They're good against the run too, but if they get to do what they're really good at and chase Tyree, then the game shifts to Jacksonville. The question is, can they do that? And I don't know.
Yeah, when I was looking at all the stats today, and Wink and I were doing these graphics, I realized, and I thought I maybe kind of knew this already, but I didn't realize that Julian Tyree was last in passing yards in the entire league. Last. Number 22nd.
Yeah,
I mean, not counting the Baltimore quarterbacks, right?
Right. That's funny when you think about it, isn't it? But they want to run. Like I said, they make no apologies. It's what they're going to do. So.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'm going to pull this game graphic back up before I go to Chad here real quick. A lot of the yards are pretty even, except for passing, like we talked about, and then Sioux Falls dominates in the rushing game, which we already knew. But if you look at the rest of these, touchdowns per game, third down conversions, turnovers, takeaways, it's almost a dead heat, Chad. What's your take on this Jacksonville traveling to Sioux Falls this weekend?
I mean, for me, this is going to be one of the, to me, besides the last game, I think this will be one of the more interesting games of the weekend. Jacksonville, if Christensen can keep the interceptions down, just like, we were talking about before, I think Jacksonville's going to take this game. I think if they just shut down, Colin Hart and make Tyree beat them, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they can do that or not. I mean, don't get me wrong. Sioux Falls, I think, is a great team. But I think Jacksonville kind of having that momentum coming in, already playing a game before, I think that, that could boast well in their favor.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that strategy a couple times this season where they've tried to stop the key running back, and then the quarterback steps up and throws all over everybody. It happened to Lone Star against Vancouver this season, actually. So, but I agree with you. If you can take care of Hart, make Tyree beat you, then I think you're on the right track. I agree with that. Well, let's see what Hunter has to say about his own team this weekend, traveling to Sioux Falls. I'm guessing this spread's probably somewhere between the first two games, Hunter. What do you think?
Yeah, this is. We have Sioux Falls favored by 3.
Less than I thought. Okay.
And we have the over/under set at 57.5 as well.
Which was the same as Mexico City, Baltimore?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. What was the percentage of win in your Sims?
Sioux Falls by 67%.
67%. Okay, well, the Who You Got has Sioux Falls with 100 more votes than Jacksonville. 155 to only 55 in favor of Sioux Falls. So, again, so far, 3 home teams out of 3 home teams, 3 favored teams, 3 higher-seeded teams. SFL Nation going chalk so far, it looks like. So let's see how we look at... Oh, you don't want to see Sioux Falls again. Or maybe Sioux Falls people do. Vancouver at Louisiana. I personally think this is going to be the best game of the weekend. I think it should probably be the closest game of the weekend. Vancouver is on a roll. Louisiana has had just an amazing year. I think Reggie Streeter, Tyler, will probably be the MVP of the season. Stats are pretty similar, not terribly off. A little more passing for Vancouver, more rushing for Louisiana, which you would expect in this. But Vancouver going into Louisiana just after barely squeaking by Houston. Tyler, what do you think? Or I'm sorry, yeah, Houston. Or I'm sorry, did Vancouver beat Houston? I got so many games in my head, I can't remember who.
Atlanta.
Sorry. Yeah, Atlanta. Oh, that's right. Atlanta coming back at the end, almost putting it in overtime, only down by 8. I don't know, Tyler. What do you think? Vancouver got a shot?
I mean, it has to be said at this point. If Atlanta hadn't pulled another Atlanta sports moment and been up by over 20 points in the first half and just dropped the ball completely.
Like those Braves last night to my Dodgers, but go on. Sorry.
Oh man. We would probably see Atlanta here and they'd still be trying to defend their title. But it has to be said, the game plan for Vancouver is very straightforward. It has to be a balanced attack. If Vancouver is allowed to have a balanced attack, and if they are allowed to get Robert Redford going on the ground, they should be very comfortable in this game. What I mean by that is, in the 2 out of the 3 wins they've had on the road, Robert Redford has had over 100 yards rushing. So the running game is key on the road. I mean, that's probably a typical thing to say, but get the run game going, get Robert Redford going, should be okay. Tom Pepper, you have to limit the mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot throw 4 turnovers to Louisiana. They will run all over. This is not Atlanta. This is definitely not an easier opponent. So Tom Pepper has to make less mistakes than he did last week. If the defense can show up and take away the ball 5 times like they did against Atlanta, I don't see why Vancouver comes out on top of this game, even though it'll probably be a slim margin.
Yeah, again, and this seems to be a theme, so follow me here for a second, right? We've seen now, I think, at least 3, maybe 4 quarterbacks throwing several more interceptions this season than touchdowns. Last weekend, we had 10 interceptions in the first game. We had 8 interceptions in the second game. Tyler, is this going to be, you think this is just like a theme of this playoffs, of this season? What do you think?
Hopefully not. I mean, if you like defense, if you like defensive plays, I mean, you're loving all these interceptions. But if you're looking for a clean game, you're definitely not enjoying how all these teams are making so many mistakes. But that's the SFL for you. And just one other thing I'd like to add is it's kind of a theme with when tragedy strikes towns with professional sports teams. I think Vancouver's more a team of destiny at this point with Mr. Robert. Check that. Mr. Rich Pratchard, may he rest in peace.
That's a good point.
Just look at Boston Strong with the Boston bombing. Look at New York baseball after 9/11.
Right.
There are so many different teams. Look at, not to mention Kobe Bryant and the Lakers.
Oh, and the Lakers this year, yeah.
If Vancouver isn't a team of destiny at this point, I don't know what team is.
That's a great point. So, Frank the Franchise Wade, is Vancouver a team of destiny? Or is the new team on the block, Louisiana Revolution, the team of destiny?
Well, first of all, Dave, about Louisiana, the front office did a great job when they assembled this team. To be able to snag an all-star quarterback and running back in free agency, build a strong back end of talented defense, and to draft guys like Twin Screw, Napoli, Wilder, and Gone in the first three rounds, that's pretty amazing. Defensively, they score points. Chuck Diesel, Blake Craze, 119 tackles, 118 tackles, respectively. They're both 11th and 12th. Rookie Luther Gone made a move up the sack ladder, fell just 3.5 short of the league leader, finished with 16 total, all solo sacks. The 5th overall pick of the draft, Ross Napoli, finished with 7 sacks. Tank Bennett led the league during the regular season in interceptions with 11, breaking the franchise record of 6 when the team was the Pharaohs. He also had 115 total tackles. The team as a whole finished with a plus 18 turnover differential. That's the best in the league and only one shy of the SFL record of 19 set last season by the St. Louis Gladiators. And a lot of those guys, including Gerald Smith, Pickler, Blake, Diesel, Evan Arthur, those guys were on that Gladiator team. You got Evan Arthur also has 8 interceptions this season. Romlin Hood, Evan Arthur have taken 2 interceptions each for touchdowns. Surprisingly, in the stats for total defense, the Revolution is in the middle of the pack on most categories, but are 5th overall against the rush and only allowing 83 yards a game. They're only allowing 9. They've only allowed 9 touchdowns this season, which puts them tied for 8th. Offensively, for only being in the league 2 seasons, Pickler has made some noise. In 2 seasons, Johnny has the highest career QBR in SFL history on all non-generic quarterbacks, both active and retired, with a 96.2 QBR. In his first 2 seasons, he has led his teams to the playoff appearances and is likely going to be named to his second All-Star selection. Reggie Streeter led the SFL in rushing with 2,246 yards. He was first in rushing TDs with 24, first in carries with 325, third in yards per carry at 6.3 yards a carry. He was 141 yards shy of breaking the single-season rushing record. The next closest running back to him in yardage was 536 yards away.
Wow.
He gives credit to his offensive linemen, Leonard Butler Sr. and Rudy Ray Dunn. And this Longhorn fan might be the season 15 MVP. Now, with a running game like that, Pickler does a nice job of spreading the ball around. He doesn't have to throw it 45, 55 times a game.
Right.
You don't hear the receivers mentioned very much as far as stats and everything because he has thrown to 8 different players for touchdowns. Their 4 primary receivers are Earl, Storm, Twin Screw, and Robo, all averaging over 10 yards per reception. Chase Earl has 644 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns. I'm sorry.
7 touchdowns, yeah.
7 touchdowns, yeah. And Saren Storm has 54 receptions, 718 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Matt Finnick is perfection this season with 12 field goals. After the mess that happened early in the season, the locker room rallied around Mike Twinscrew, gave him the confidence he needed to be successful at game planning on both sides of the ball. Just some information here about the franchise. They have set an SFL season 15 season record on defense with 38 total takeaways. All right, this is not counting the playoff games this season. Other records broken by Louisiana. Most franchise wins with 9. Streeter shattered the rushing franchise record and the franchise TD record. Streeter now holds the franchise record for career rushing yards with 3,157 yards, a career franchise TD record with 29. Tank Bennett now holds the franchise record for interceptions with 30. Not to mention that they've raised over $1,200 for Stack Up over the course of the regular season. They've only lost 1 game at Stack Up Stadium.
Wow.
Monday is Johnny's birthday,
Uh-oh.
and he is not going to let the Legion spoil it on Sunday. Just want to throw that out there. Now, the last time these two teams met, the score was 6-20 in favor of the Revolution. The Revolution averages almost 400 total yards at home. Pickler averages 214 yards passing, and the run game average is 183. They surrender 23 points a game. They score an average of 31 points a game. The last time they met, Pickler only threw the ball for 109 yards, only threw it 14 times, had 10 completions, but Streeter rushed for 235 yards. Tank Bennett had 2 interceptions. Blake Craze had 1. Luther Gahn sacked Pepper 4 times by himself. The defense held Vancouver running attack to 47 yards. This will be the first home playoff game in franchise history when you have the league's most intercepted quarterback coming into town, facing defensive rookie of the year candidate and 2 of the top defensive backs in interceptions. This may not go well. Can Streeter run over the 15th ranked defense? If he can, Pickler won't have the pressure on him to make plays against that 6th rated overall pass defense. Vancouver, I think, tries to stop Streeter, so look for a big game from the birthday boy.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I didn't realize that Johnny's birthday was coming up. So, like Tyler said, Team of Destiny versus the birthday boy. But here's the thing that stood out to me. Tank Bennett, Blake Craze, and Chuck Diesel all in the top 15 in tackles. Luther Gahn, 16 sacks, 20 tackles for loss is up there in the tops as well. And then you got Reggie Streeter, who's, like I said, probably going to be the MVP. This Louisiana team just seems like they have got all the weapons on offense and defense. I don't know how anybody is really going to beat them until maybe we get to the championship game. So, Thomas, I want to ask Thomas real quick before I go on to Jack's data and get their information. Thomas, I know you've had your issues with Louisiana this season. What do you think about this game in particular?
I think this is going to be a really good matchup. I think both teams are really going to bring it. I think it's going to be a close game for sure. I just think Vancouver, with all of that motivation, with all of the drive to try and win it all for Rich, I think I could see Vancouver winning this game in a really close one.
Okay. Well, we'll get to the pick'ems. I'm sorry, in a few minutes. But before that, we are going to get to Gunny's Pearls of Wisdom. And then after that, Tyler's going to come on and give us a quick rundown on this weekend's minor league games. Gunny, are you around and are you ready to rock and roll? Maybe he's not. Gunny, you're muted. Can you hear me?
Hang on. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. There you go. Are you ready to go, Gunny?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Proud of the following teams and individuals for their charitable donations through the season. Louisiana for Stack Up has raised over $1,200. Tom Raymond for his donation for Play It Like a Girl. Lone Star for Objective Zero. Amount of donations yet to be determined. Fort Worth has donated to a local charity of their choice. Doug Britton from Las Vegas to the Narcolepsy Network. Jeff Gagne to the Cancer Research Foundation. And to my own causes, the Alzheimer Association in memory of my dad, and the melanoma skin cancer in memory of my mom. Thank you and kudos to all the teams and players for their worthy causes. Looking forward to the complete listing of expansion hopeful bids for the season 16 ownership. Don't forget, week 2 of the minor leagues is tomorrow. Check your TV guide for local listings. Good luck this weekend to the Elite 8. My proposal to the season 16 wide receiver 2 that follows in the footsteps of Rich Pratchard be signed to a one-time only contract of $86.00 or $86.86, which is a silver wide receiver. And with that, Dave Axis, that is all.
Thank you, Gunny. Appreciate it. Apparently, in my haste to go go get to Gunny and his pearls of wisdom, I skipped right over Jack's data for the Louisiana-Vancouver game. So, Hunter, my apologies. Vancouver at Louisiana. I'm assuming this is probably the closest game. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Slightly. I have Louisiana minus 2.5.
Okay.
And we have a highest over-under of 65.5.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be some points scored in that game. How'd the Sims work out?
62% in favor of Louisiana.
So that's the lowest of the 4 games.
Yes.
So lowest of the 4 games, closest spread, highest over-under, and the closest margin in the Who You Got, only about 20 votes, 117 to 96 in favor of Louisiana. We still got a couple games to go, so that could tighten up as well. Tyler, I'm actually going to push you back too, because I think I want to do Diva of the Week first, and then we'll go to the minor league stuff, just to give you a heads up on that. As you guys know, we had, I believe it was 7 nominees for the wild card weekend Diva of the Week. And I have to say that the winner this week set the record for the largest margin of victory, and I don't have it right in front of me, but I believe it was around 50% of all the votes with 7 nominees. This person got 50% or a little over 50% of the votes. So your wild card weekend Diva of the Week winner is the one, the only Kendra Hall, wide receiver, Atlanta. Kendra's in the showroom, on the show right now. Kendra, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. How you feeling? Your Diva of the Week.
It's a very fitting title, and according to my husband, he says it very fits at home too. So I'm not surprised.
Did you tell him ahead of time this evening?
I did not. He just heard now. I told you I wasn't going to tell him. That's not fair.
I knew you weren't gonna. I know what you told me, but I didn't know if maybe he found out or something. Who knows?
No, he just thought maybe you just didn't love him that much, and you asked me to be on the show and not him. So he was a bit jelly when I told him I had to get on.
I am Team Kendra, and he did pick against my Lone Star, so it is what it is.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying. All right, awesome. We're gonna get a minor league report from Tyler, and then we're gonna do pick'ems. Do you want to stick around and do pick'ems with us, Kendra?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on being the Diva of the Week for Wild Card Weekend.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you, voters. Thank you, everybody who went in to vote. Let's move on to Friday Night Lights. Tyler, give us a rundown. We've got 4 games. Looks like Tacoma has the bye this week. We've got 4 games on Twitch and on YouTube tomorrow night starting at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Give us a little rundown on that.
Sounds good. Love to, Dave. I might not be Chris Berman, but we're going to go ahead and do the 2-minute drill anyway. So let's take a look at real quick last week's games. The SFL community in the Who You Got was 1-3. A lot of surprising debuts for teams and players, and it all kicks off again here tomorrow night with week 2. Let's go ahead and jump into game 1. San Jose at Annapolis. San Jose coming with the same QB. So we should see some development from him, and that QB is Colin Pierce. So let's see if he improves from last week. Also, they had a loss last week against Birmingham at home. So hopefully they're able to pick it up and improve on the road. Meanwhile, with Annapolis, they look strong at home. They have to go with a different QB this time around. Instead of Spencer Gordon, the 2-year veteran, they have to go to L.A. Rue, the rookie. So it depends on what the game plan is. If they try and throw the ball out with an inexperienced quarterback, we might see some picks. My verdict, Annapolis wins this game 24-13. Let's move on to game 2. Salt Lake City at Birmingham. Salt Lake City is our third and final expansion franchise in the SFLM. So we should see some fresh faces and some new and hopefully promising debuts for a lot of players, which also means will they perform kind of like a different team, which we'll talk about later. Meanwhile, for Birmingham, Riley Quintero is a stud. 200 yards receiving in one game and 2 touchdowns equals his total from last year altogether. Wow. Just a little bit of something they need to work on. They definitely need to work on the run game, but they're at home, so I see them winning this one 35-10. Third game of the night, we have Albuquerque at Ottawa. PJ Slaughter is dropping bombs, pun intended. Going over 300 yards passing on the day, finding Nate Ritters, one of his most favorite wide receiving threats out there. But if he is going to throw more interceptions than touchdowns, check that. Expect more interceptions than touchdowns if the run game does not improve, especially on the road. Ottawa, well, home sweet home. They should have a better run and pass game as of last week. Only under 150 yards passing last week against Annapolis. But if they rely too much on Kevin Say and they aren't able to get going, their pass play action attack will be in jeopardy. In my opinion, Albuquerque wins this 17-15. And the final game of the night, game 4, Memphis at Madison. The commish called it the game of the week. Memphis, in my opinion, looked like the most complete team through week 1, both on the offensive side of the ball, a balanced attack there, and on the defensive side of the ball. Even though they had a one play where the ball was tipped no less than 10 times in one play, hopefully we'll see a few interceptions this time around. But they're also having to go with another new QB as they rotate quarterbacks. So we'll see a new experience from the young man out there in Memphis. Meanwhile, Madison, the defending champs, were absolutely stunned by Albuquerque. They're at home, so hopefully it's home sweet home for them. But they looked absolutely lost out there in Albuquerque. Hopefully they made the right adjustments. In my opinion, this is the closest game of the week. I see Memphis taking the win 21-20.
Okay. That was a lot to say in a very short amount of time. How you feeling, Tyler? You out of breath?
I mean, a little bit, but we'll get used to it.
That's
as we
all right.
go on.
That'll work perfect. That was great. Thank you for that. Really appreciate that. Now we're going to get into the pick'ems. There's only 4 games, but we've got a lot of people to get through. We're okay on time. I don't really have an after dark topic today, but if you want to be on, make sure you at Eagle if you want to be on after dark and or you have questions for anybody on the panel or myself. Let's start with, I'm just going to go random here. Let's start with Frank the Franchise Wade for the first game. Mexico City at Baltimore. Frank, who you got?
I got Baltimore.
You got Baltimore. Thomas had to bounce early. We knew he was only on an hour schedule tonight, so he gave me his picks before he left. He also chose Baltimore. Coach, who do you have?
I've got Baltimore.
Coach has Baltimore. Chad, who do you have?
Going with the old team, Baltimore.
Okay, Mexico City at Baltimore. Soto, who you got?
Baltimore.
Benji.
Mexico City.
Mexico City. Okay, Eddie. Is Eddie here? Did we lose Eddie? No. Okay, let's move on to Tyler.
Hey, Eddie's here. Sorry.
Man, Eddie, what are you doing? Did you go take a break?
No, my mic was muted. Sorry.
Oh, okay, no worries. Go ahead. Who do you got? Mexico City or Baltimore?
Man, I'm going Baltimore.
Baltimore. Okay, Tyler.
I gotta go Baltimore.
Okay, Hunter.
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Kendra.
I have Baltimore.
And Gunny.
Baltimore.
Baltimore. Did I get everybody? I'll make sure I didn't miss anybody. We got enough people in the house today. Okay. Frank, game 2 on Saturday. Florida at Denver.
Denver.
Denver. Coach?
I'm going to go Denver.
You're going to go Denver? Okay. Chad?
It's close, but I'm going Denver.
Denver. Okay. Soto?
I'm supporting our boy Rosca, Denver.
Denver. Benji?
I also like Rosca, but I'm going to say Florida.
Eddie, Florida at Denver.
I wish these guys would say why they're picking who they're picking, but
because they like Rosca, bro. Aren't you listening? Come on.
Yeah. I'm gonna this is gonna be tough.
All these games are gonna be tough, bro.
I'm gonna go Florida in an upset.
Okay, there you go. Tyler.
I doubted Ron Cochran last week when I said he was a playoff quarterback. I'm going with him this week. Florida wins.
Wow. Okay. Hunter.
Florida.
Florida. Kendra.
Denver.
Denver. And Gunny.
Denver.
Denver. Wow, a lot more Florida than I expected. Look at that. All right, Frank, moving on to the Sunday game, the first game on Sunday, Jacksonville at Sioux Falls. Who you got?
I'm picking Jacksonville in an upset.
Jacksonville in an upset. Okay. Oh, I forgot to say Thomas also picked Denver, and then in this game he's picking Sioux Falls. Coach, who do you got?
Sioux Falls.
Sioux Falls. Oh, that's right. I should have even asked. You and Gunny, I don't even have to ask, right? Chad.
Going Jacksonville on this one.
Jacksonville on the road. Okay. Soto, what about you?
All Saxonville, baby.
Okay, Benji.
Yeah, Soto took my joke. Saxonville.
I guess it's still funny the second time. Eddie.
I hate to say this before playbooks are submitted, but I'm gonna put some ifs in here. If Jacksonville gets out of that darn 3-3 nickel defense they keep using, why I don't know, and run the ball more because they're pretty darn good at it. Sioux Falls can be ran on, but Jacksonville only has one contract linebacker. That's it. If they do those things, I got Jacksonville winning.
Okay. Tyler, what about you?
I love a great old school power running football team in Sioux Falls. I have to take them.
Okay. All right, Hunter.
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. Kendra.
Sioux Falls.
Sioux Falls. Hey, real quick, Hunter, before I get to Gunny, are you doing what you think or what you want? Like, because you said the math, what Jack's data came out is different than you think. The picture giving me now, are they what you think or what Jack's data came up with?
The picture I'm giving is what I think.
What you think? Okay.
Also, if Eddie wants to bring his defense over to Jacksonville and learn what it is to win, he can do that anytime.
Well, I did beat Jacksonville this season, so
we let you have that one.
There you go, Gunny.
Sioux Falls.
Of course. You and Coach got them all season long. All right, Frank, the last game of the quarterfinal round. It's got Vancouver traveling to Louisiana. Who you got?
This is going to be an exciting game. I'm going Louisiana.
Okay. Thomas, before he left, took Vancouver. Coach, who you got?
I'm never going to root against Vancouver unless they're playing us. So, okay. Vancouver.
All right, then. Chad?
Only because Eddie wants explanations. So, with this game, I'm going Louisiana. But that's because, one, I don't think, even if Vancouver can somehow stop Reggie Streeter, I mean, granted, I think they could, then you got Johnny, then you got all those weapons. At defense, Tom Pepper, if he throws even 3 interceptions, this might be a dangerous game for Vancouver. So I am going with Louisiana.
Okay. Real quick, before I get to Soto, remember, if you want to be on After Dark, if you have questions for the panel, you want to say anything about the playoffs, you want to talk trash about the commissioner, whatever, as I see him pop back in the chat, make sure you pop in the green room on the Access Live server. You got to be able to be in there if you want to be on the show. Soto, who you got?
What he talked about, that Hamilton is putting the playbooks to ruin Pickler's birthday on Monday because the dislike between Hamilton and Pickler that nobody talked about.
Hey, we talked about this on Tuesday on the After Dark. I even said we should have Andy and Johnny on the show to debate, and the commissioner said that was the worst idea I've ever had in my entire life.
If you don't think that Hamilton is putting everything in this playbook, and same thing with Pickler putting everything in that playbook to beat Andy, but all that being said, I don't know why I'm going this way, but I think Vancouver's going to win.
Okay. Benji, what do you think about this game?
I'm going to be I think this is the Legion in an upset.
In an upset, okay. Vancouver. Eddie, where are you going with this?
Vancouver played this team in Louisiana earlier this season. And when they did, for people who study Louisiana's run game, a lot of their success or their chunk plays come off of about 3 or 4 plays. Vancouver did an excellent job containing Streeter on those 3-4 plays. It was the other plays that did them in. And if they can tighten that up, there's a lot of ifs here. Pepper throws about 900 interceptions a season. And Louisiana is the best in the SFL in creating turnovers. That's a lot of ifs, and they're on the road, but I'm going Louisiana.
Okay.
But this game is going to be I think this is going to be probably the best game this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Tyler, Vancouver at Louisiana.
I said it earlier. This is a team of destiny. I'm gonna quote a very famous commentator. You just cannot write scripts like this. Vancouver wins in Louisiana.
There you go. Hunter, who you got?
Louisiana, so we can beat them in the semis.
Oh, there you go. Kendra.
Louisiana.
And then last but certainly not least, Gunny, Vancouver, Louisiana this weekend, quarterfinal. Who you got?
Twin screw, Navy veteran, Navy birthday was this week. I'm going with Louisiana, Mike Twin screw.
Okay. So there were no sweeps. It wasn't even close to any sweeps. I think Baltimore was the closest with maybe 2 Mexico cities. That was it. So a lot of these picks are all over the place, which makes sense with these games being so close to each other. Moving on into the After Dark portion. Like I mentioned, I don't have a topic today. I did have somebody jump in that reached out that said they wanted to come on. His name is Christian Brown. He's a quarterback in the SFL minor league. Christian, I'm sorry, I don't remember which team you said you play for, but welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And I am the quarterback of the Birmingham Fuel.
Okay, awesome. Tell everybody why you wanted to come on the After Dark portion this evening.
I wanted to come on the After Dark portion after week 1 against the San Jose Flight. And just a quick shout out, much respect to their quarterback, Colin Pierce. Had a nice conversation with him earlier. Just wanted to talk about my preparation for this week heading into week 2 after, most people would say, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns with a win. That'd be kind of nice for someone's first performance. But with my personality, I just looked at those 3 picks and said, I got to work on something this week. And I worked all week with Coach Wiseman, just reading different coverages and everything like that. So trying to limit my turnovers heading into week 2 when easily the Flight could have capitalized on those and it could have been a different game.
So real quick, let me pull this schedule up real quick. Who do you guys play this week? Let me look.
The Salt Lake City Rustlers.
Okay. Do you know much about Salt Lake going into this weekend or going into tomorrow night? Sorry.
I do not know much. No.
Okay. Tyler, did Salt Lake win last week?
Negative. They were on a bye last week, so here's the deal for them: is that they were able to go through progression, and they're able to get game film on Birmingham already. So that's one of their advantages going into this week. But I actually have a question for you, Mr. Brown, if you wouldn't mind. I was able to call your game and watched you live, and I was able to see you connect multiple times, 10 times for. Just to be clear, with Riley Quintero. How is your relationship with him going?
Oh, we just hit it off the first time we were in the locker room. I mean, he's a fantastic guy, fantastic receiver. I feel like I can just throw the ball up just in his vicinity, and he's coming down with it. He made my week 1 very easy, burning the defense for those 2 touchdowns, and I know his production last year, he only had 2 touchdowns all season, so it was actually an honor to get him that sort of production, even though he made it open for himself in that week 1 victory.
That's awesome. If there's any other minor leaguers in the chat that want to come on and talk about their team or their game or their opponent, you're more than welcome. I want to go to the panel just for a second. Eddie, you've been around here the longest, I think, on this panel. You have any advice for our young quarterback here, Christian Brown, playing in the minor league?
Now, if you'd asked me a question about a defensive player, I could answer that with with no problem.
You're all about the offense this year, bro. Come on.
Yeah, I'm doing it all. But the one advice I would give him is to A, listen to your coaches, B, set like 3 different reminders on your phone, email, computer, whatever you got to do, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever you got going on, not to forget progression. Ever. Because that's so important in terms of developing your player. So A, listen to your coaches. B, make sure your coaches are in a film room. Don't take days off because the league is getting the competition is just so much better these days. I mean, back in the day, it was easy to stack up. I shouldn't say easier, but the competition was not as fierce as it is these days. These days, I mean, even the teams who are below 500, I mean, the competition is just so fierce and competitive these days. So make sure you're A, progressing, B, paying attention to your coaches, C, in that film room, because you can't even just watch just one game these days. You got to watch the previous 3 or 4 to get a clue on what your opposing teams are doing.
That is very true. Coach, you have anything you want to add in here? I know that you coach San Jose. You've had some experience. You coached Ace last year. You're coaching Ace this year, so you've got a lot of experience coaching quarterbacks in the SFL. You have any advice for this young buck?
Well, I'll say what I said many times last season. You're more than the number next to your name, and you're more than the stats you put out in the minors. Reach out to teams, reach out to everybody, talk to them, get to know them. And, this is true for all rookies. It's what I tell my San Jose guys. You're not getting drafted if you're not reaching out to people and letting them know you're there and know you're interested. It's just a fact. We had some talented on-the-field players last season not get drafted because they didn't make those connections.
Okay. Speaking of quarterbacks, Jack Wigmore just jumped in. And Jack, I'll get to you in a second. Before I do, I want to ask Benji real quick. Benji, you played for the Fuel last season, correct? Am I right or wrong?
You are correct.
And did you play with anybody that's still playing there?
Yeah, Riley.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I was actually about to say in the chat, too, that it's great that Riley's having success now this season around. I know that he was disappointed that he didn't find a team this season, but he had a really good attitude about the whole thing, was excited to be in the minors this league, and I think it's paying off. We're seeing him just the beginning of a fantastic budding career there for Riley.
Awesome. Jack Wigmore, quarterback for Baltimore, came in mid-season. Jack, first of all, welcome to the show. How you doing? Oh, I think you're muted. There you go. Oh, hey Eagle, he's unmuted, but he's not getting the green circle around, so I can't hear him. So, Jack, we'll get back to you in just a second. Let me check the chat real quick and see if there is anything here. The Cam said you stick with it and you get what you want. It doesn't matter how long it takes. A dream come true. I'm not even sure what he's talking about. Rapid Raccoon. Also, please, rookies, inform yourselves about SFL teams. I watch you play. You should know about the teams you talk to. That's a good point, actually.
That's a very valid point.
That's a very good point. You know what? Hey, Dave, do you mind if I piggyback off of that?
Yeah, go ahead. Jack had to log out. He's going to log back in, so go ahead.
That's a great point he just made. And let me tell you why. I won't say any names, but I had a guy reach out to me who I ultimately ended up picking up in the draft. And he reached out to me, sent me a DM, and he gave me a rundown on my team's previous success the previous season. Saw that we had a need at his position because a lot of these guys just reach out, hey, I'm a quarterback. Well, guy, guess what? I got Ashley. She's going nowhere. Lifetime contract. But thanks. So, you know, it's stuff like that. He knew the history of my team. He knew where we ranked offensively. He knew a lot of stuff about us and says, hey, you know, I'm not claiming to know everything, but this is where I can help you. Please draft me. I mean, he gave me a run. I was impressed. And I walked away circling his name, and sure enough, we got him, and I'm glad he's here.
So
yeah, and just to piggyback off that even
ahead,
further,
Chad.
I mean, just because, you know, Eddie knows being a GM, I'm a GM and all this stuff, but, you know, knowing the team that you're talking to, that's a very valid point. You know, me and Coach actually talked about this yesterday when I was doing the interview for his show. You know, reaching out to GMs, having those conversations with GMs and even coaches and stuff like that, and getting to know other players on those teams as well. I mean, that's the really big value. You know, you can go throw 24 touchdowns and 9 picks all season, but at the end of the day, I want people that's going to be locker room fits and make London, for example, you know, a top team in the SFL.
Right. And on, you know, speaking of that, I just remember you telling me, Chad, the story last season. You guys only had 1 draft pick in Baltimore, and you still talked to, what'd you say, like 70 rookies?
Yeah, about a little over 70, if I remember right. Yeah,
for 1 spot.
For 1 spot.
Unbelievable. Jack Wigmore's back with us. Let's see if we can get him this time. Jack, welcome to the show.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can. Hey, welcome to the show. And how, kind of tell us real quick. You can tell us why you came on, but before you do that, I want to know, how's your half season going in Baltimore so far? Was it challenging to pick it up halfway through the season? Did you feel like you came into a good spot? How did that break down for you?
It's been good. It was different, definitely just coming into a situation where, you know, most people, you have like the off season and getting ready, but you just kind of get thrown right into it. So it took a little getting used to, but after the first game, everything kind of got used to it.
Gotcha. Why'd you want to come on the show tonight?
Well, first of all, Benji, was that you that ruined the sweep on the Baltimore-Mexico City game?
No,
it was. Let me see. I'll tell you right now. It was.
I didn't think anybody picked Mexico City.
Yeah, I saw.
Did you pick Mexico City?
Oh, it was Benji. It was Benji.
Oh.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well, I'll let it go for now. But I just as for the games this weekend, I think, of course, except for the Baltimore-Mexico City game, I think we could see some upsets. I think Florida might beat Denver, and I think who is it that's playing Louisiana? It's Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville might take that game too.
Vancouver at Louisiana.
Vancouver, yeah. I think they might take that game, and I think Jacksonville might take the Sioux Falls game as well. Who knows? I mean, I think all those teams have played really solid all season, so
Yeah.
I think if you try to find a weakness in those teams, you'll find it, but they've played really solid all season, so I think they all definitely have a shot. I don't think we'll see any team run away with the game this weekend.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you're down to the final 8, or as Gunny called it, the Elite 8. All these teams have won on the road. All these teams have won at home. So there's not a lot of separation between any of these teams. Bryant Dynasty just jumped on with us as well, and then he jumped right back out. Let me put him back in real quick. Hey, Dynasty.
Baltimore is 5-2 versus playoff teams this season, FYI.
Wow. I wonder what Louisiana is. I wonder if we can get that info while we find out. Dynasty, are you with us? No?
Yeah, I'm here, Dave.
Okay.
I'm here.
All right. What's going on, bro?
No, I just wanted to get in that rookie QB love.
Well, go ahead. You got the mic. I'll even throw the graphic back to the minor league. Dynasty, remind us who you played for in the minor league.
I played for the Lincoln Rattlesnakes, which is we're actually taking the season off.
Okay.
So yeah, we're not participating in season 2. Um, like Jack, I know he didn't go the minor league route, but so we ended up with what 4 rookie QBs in all this season. 3 drafted, and then Jack joined in halfway for Dags.
Right.
But we all kind of had different routes, so that's something for the rookies to kind of take a look at. What was it? Ace, he built a great relationship with coach for San Jose, and he ended up getting drafted. I'm like slipping through my mind.
That's
Javier, he had the coaching side for Ottawa, and I don't know what I did to get into Atlanta's good graces. I guess it was the hair flip. That's
well,
about
you
it.
had you reached out to a lot of people. You were popular in chat. You were doing graphics for people. Dynasty, excuse me one second. Hey Cam, Eddie had mentioned Baltimore's record against the other playoff teams. I was wondering Louisiana's, but if we can do the research in the next few minutes, I'd like to know all the home teams.
They're 5-1.
So Louisiana's 5-1, Baltimore's 5-2.
Yep.
You said? Okay.
Correct.
So if we have a chance in the next few minutes before we log off, if we can find out the other 2 home teams, Sioux Falls and Denver, their records against playoff teams. Dynasty, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No worries. I just wanted to let everybody in the minor league know there's no one way to get to a team. Each of us, we all had a different route. Jack, he already was established with Baltimore, so when that spot opened up for him, they're ready to take him. Atlanta's been great for me. Like you said, I did the graphics thing. I got to know the expansion owners. Everybody who put in a bid, I contacted. I was trying to do my thing, but I ended up in Atlanta, and it worked out for, I think, all of us in the end.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. There's not one way. Some people build relationships. Some people are popular in chat. Some people make graphics. Some people do hair flips. Some people, have that relationship with their minor league coach. You're right. There's
scouting.
There's a lot of different ways, and yeah, it depends a lot. And I think Coach led to this a minute ago. We always talk about the person over the player. Who are you as a person, and what else do you bring to the table other than just your player? And if you can do scouting like Eddie said, or if you can do graphics like Dynasty did, or you're a spreadsheet math guy, it can help with progressions. I mean, there's a million different ways to get your foot in the door with a lot of different teams. So Christian Brown, is that your player name?
Yeah, that's actually my player name and my real name.
Oh, well, there you go. All right. Well, Christian, thanks for coming on and getting that started. Dynasty, thanks for hopping on as well. And Jack also for hopping on for the After Dark portion. Let me see if I can get my answers real quick about the playoffs.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, this is Greg. Hey, just for Christian, just so this is After Dark, just something funny a lot of us are going to laugh at. Christian, you just have one account, right?
That is correct.
All right, awesome, man. Welcome to the league.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I appreciate the wealth of information that I've received, and I won't let it fall on deaf ears.
Way to go, Soto. All right, so
out, Soto.
Sioux Falls, Cam says that Sioux Falls is 4-0 against playoff teams. So, Eddie, remind me, you said Baltimore was 5-2?
5-2.
Louisiana 5-1.
5-1.
Denver's 4-0. And where?
No, Denver is 1-1.
I'm sorry. Sioux Falls is 4-0. Oh, and Denver's
Correct.
only 1-1. That's interesting. So the loss, I think, was to Baltimore. I wonder who the win was against.
Atlanta.
Was it? Okay. What? Oh, no.
Yeah, we lost to them.
I thought you beat... Oh, that's right. You beat Baltimore week 1. You're right. Okay. Let me see. Bob Funk talked to a few teams winning first. Yeah. So for those of you that are were minor leaguers last season and are playing in the SFL this season, try to reach out to these minor leaguers and give them a little guidance too. I know that coming into the Discord server, the SFL Discord server, could be, it can be overwhelming. It can be a little confusing, a little convoluted. People try to reach out, but sometimes you just can't reach out to everybody. So I would encourage people, if you are an SFL player in general, but especially if you were a rookie last year and somebody reached out to you and helped you out, that you would do the same for the rookies coming in to the minor league this season. So with that being said, it is 1 minute until Ashley Jackson's show. So I'm going to wrap this up so I can kick all of you out of this party and you can move over to AJ's party. AJ has the owners of both Lone Star and Florida talking about the seasons they had, the playoff game they just had. Mighty's on there, Charles and Wally, all three of them on the show. So make sure you get over to YouTube and check out Ashley's show. In the meantime, thanks to Hunter, Frank, Thomas, Coach, Soto, Benji, Chad, Eddie, Tyler, Kendra, Christian, Dynasty, Jack. Did I miss anybody? That's a big. I wonder if this is the most people we've ever had. I know we had a lot of people on some of those draft shows, but this has got to be one of the biggest shows we had. So thank you, everybody that was on the panel. Thank you for coming on the After Dark portion. Thank you to everybody in the chat for listening to the show, for all the communication, the funny jokes, the back and forth, and especially throwing out the questions and comments to myself and the panel. So thanks again. Can't wait to see what happens in the quarterfinals this weekend. I will see you all Tuesday night, 9 p.m. right here on Twitch. So in the meantime, have a glorious night, and I will see you at the tees.